Bun regăsit! Field the Markets, ca de obicei, suntem live în fiecare zi la emisiunea dedicată piețelor financiare. Astăzi împreună cu Peter de Boer, noul CEO și membru în Consiliul de Administrație la Agrar. Hello, Peter! Welcome!
Hello, good afternoon or almost good evening, and yeah, it's a pleasure to be back at your show.
Okay, we will talk a lot of Agrar Group. Everybody knows, but let's remind them you are a leader in cow's milk production in Romania, largest integrated livestock farm. If I can ask you at the beginning, what does this group represent for this local agribusiness market? How you consider the position of your group?
Yeah, now, of course, we are the largest milk producer in Romania and also more or less in the EU, including the UK. And as we all know, Romania has quite a significant food deficit in general, but also if we look to the milk market, it's a net importer. So I would say that we deliver, or of course, we contribute to limit or at least to reduce the deficit and to give Romanian consumers access to local produced food in a sustainable way. We perform circular agriculture, and without being too confident, I dare to say that we are a really sustainable company. We have no till. We use our own fertilizer. We announce investments in biomethane, in compost, etc. We use a lot of technologies on our farm, from drones to special ways to bring the manure to the farms. So we are really a leader in a sustainable way to produce milk. And one of our objectives is to be almost net zero in 2030. But for sure, we will come to discuss about this.
Yeah, definitely. But you are not only the biggest milk producer in Romania. You are, if you are talking from the perspective of a listed company, you are also considered a benchmark, let's say, for investors. If you are talking on aero market on the Bucharest Stock Exchange, isn't it? Because a lot of investors are following the company. They are looking at the results, and we will talk about them a little bit later. But what's your opinion on this? And maybe you can tell us what are your future plans, actually, moving on the main market in the next years.
Yeah. So what we try to do every day to be different than others, let's say, that we try to do it through our day-to-day operations, but it's also a way how we try to present ourselves on the stock market and to our investors. Every time since we got listed, I think we have a clear strategy. We try to participate in many events, etc., to explain, and sometimes probably tirelessly or annoyingly, how repetitive I am, but we really focus on to get the message clear. And if we don't succeed the first time, we really follow and analyze what are reactions, responses, etc., what are the main concerns, and to be able to address them. This is also the reason now we just announced this week our newest strategy till 2030. So we really focus on that, and I think it is being rewarded. We won many investor relations awards locally, but also internationally. And this year we are again nominated for an IR award in London by the IR magazines. So we are clearly visible, and we put a lot of effort. And we also allocate resources to that, because we think predictability, transparency, integrity are really important. And so far, I think we got listed in 2022. Then in the 2 years after, we tripled more or less our business compared to the results of 2021. And then we have the strategy, of course, from 2024 to 2027, where we said, based on the results of 2023, we will double our business. Now, if we look back to end of 2023, we had a bit over 50 million liters of milk. This year, we estimate a production of 70 million liters of milk. And by the end of 2027 or latest 2028, we will reach 100 million. And if we look to the financials, they are more or less in the same framework, so that we are clearly on track, I would say, those goals to deliver. And we are happy to see, at least the last couple of days, that is also finally seen by the market, because as I mentioned already, it was annoyingly to be so much to repeat so often my story, but now it also became quite annoying, let's say, that the price stayed for such a long period really
Yes.
small.
Let's talk about these numbers, these historical results. It's one of the reasons you are, as you said, a benchmark. What can you tell about these numbers?
Well, of course, we saw quite a significant increase in turnover, especially compared to last year. We had a higher milk price of approximately 23%. Also, we delivered 7% more milk. But of course, only those figures cannot generate this significant increase in net profit that we saw. That reached 14 million. On a yearly, we budgeted by the end of the year to have a net profit of approximately 38 million. So no, we are clearly on track to at least reach it, but probably we will overpass it if things go on. Also, we invested also last year already heavily in technologies like no-till, etc. Also, we benefited from lower food cost, what was produced last year, because we had a really good agricultural year, so we still benefit from it. But the food, we will soon run out of food, so we need the food that we produce this year, and we also need to attract from the market, because we have this year not a favorable climate. So we expect at least to purchase for 1 million euros extra from food on the market, and it could be more, but we only will know in August or in September. But the prices are relatively low, so we decided already to purchase food, or at least to sign the contracts now to purchase food later on. Because we don't know what will happen, of course, at the end of the summer. But generally, that are the main things. And as we further optimize our farm, especially on the Appold farm, we significantly improved the effectiveness of the farm. Because we opened the Straja farm, of course, in March, and we were able to move a part of the employees from the Appold farm to the Straja farm. And through this, we didn't need to hire many external or new employees for this farm. So that was quite benefit. But of course, we have also the main effect was, of course, the significant price increase, but as well that we all the time try to be as integrated as possible. We try to control everything, and I think that is also seen. And of course, all the time we try to think on the mid and the long term, so we can sustain a considerable significant growth every time. Because we had also this agricultural facility that was cancelled. Through that, we had a 14% increase in salary costs. In total, it was almost 28% because we had also an inflation correction.
Yeah, that was one of my other question that I wanted to ask you, because we definitely see an increase in profitability, which actually skyrocketed. If you are comparing it, margin, if you are comparing it to first quarter 2024, so it's a mix of higher revenue, of course, and we will talk soon about also the price milk, but you actually managed to maintain or contain the salaries and the operational costs. This is actually a key of this great profitability that you had.
It is that we are so integrated that farms also start to perform better and better, especially the Agrar farm and the Koet farm. They performed really well last year. We were between 36-38 liters per cow per day. At the Appold farm, there is still room to quite significantly grow. We are under the 30 liters there, but it's also because we have a lot of animals for Straja who are also there. So it is a little bit unresty at the farm. You want to have rest and predictability, etc. And there's constant things going on. But that farm also starts to be more cost effective. And as I mentioned as well, we benefited also regarding further optimization of the food cost. And of course, the start and the implementation of the no-till technology, where we started to simultaneously prepare the land, fertilize the land, and sow land. So we go with different crops from 4 procedures to 1 procedure, or from 3 to 1. And for this year, we estimate that we have a reduction of cost between 800,000 and 1 million euros. That's quite significant, and it is somehow fortunate that it happens this year, especially that for sure next year we will see a small increase at least in food costs, because we need to purchase, as I said already, from the market, and the main consequence will be seen next year in our figures, but also partially for a few months this year.
Let's talk about this price milk evolution. how important is to the whole business? Because we see some volatility. You work with some scenarios, but let's say if we see a decrease, a lot of percent, let's happen something. How much will affect the business?
No, it affects, and first of all, we try to create predictability, especially as we are a fast growing company who does significant investments. So we never opt for the highest price or whatsoever. We prefer to have long-term contracts. Our Lactalis is our largest client, but in total we have six contracted who are clients who have where we have longer contracts, and we sell also on the spot market, but that we export. We sell that outside of Romania. But the six contracted companies, with a part of them we have for 3 years contracts, and especially with our largest client, Lactalis, we have a 3-year contract. We just renewed it this year. And of course, in general, to our clients, we are able to sell because we sell large quantities with a constant level of fat and protein to sell for Northwestern European average.
Mm-hmm.
So that really helps because compared to last year, as I mentioned already, the difference in milk price was approximately 23%. Also last year we had the first quarter we had a significant decrease in milk price. So it can be 20-30% throughout the year, which of course will have an effect. But if you try all the time to be more integrated, to work with new technologies, to optimize, as well as doing constantly investment, okay, somehow you are able to compensate. But of course, it has consequences, especially the millet that we now need to export. Of course, the margins are automatically smaller because there's too much milk on the market at the moment. The milk price in Romania is also significantly lower than the EU average. Which is problematic, and of course mainly due to effect of the price cap that is implemented for dairy products on the local market. And that's also the reason, and maybe we have time to discuss this later on in the strategy, that we said, okay, now when we grow so fast and we will produce in time 150 or 200 million liters of milk, we need to look in a way that we can somehow extend our client groups. So, of course, we have to find maybe more milk processors, but on the local market, we think that there are only 5 or 6 possible processors where we could sell, or at least who can handle our production capacity. And then, of course, as soon as you start to export, transportation costs come into effect. So then we need to find ways.
We'll have, we will have, of course, plenty of time to talk about your future plans, actually. But I will have to make a little break. You were talking about the export of milk, yeah, and we have also a question in the chat that you already started to export milk in Greece and other European countries. Can you talk about this a little bit more, or?
Yes, of course. Of course, we have also a strategy behind that. More or less, we sell on purpose, let's say, other markets in this case, and we can compete to the Romanian. Still, we earn a bit more than we would now sell it on the local market, on the spot market, on the not contracted market. Spot market changes every day. Let's say it's a commodity market, and in Greece somehow we negotiate to have more or less a stable price, but of course the transportation costs are high, and now we look to different ways to maybe to extract the water from the milk. It's a relative small investment. Per farm that would mean 70,000 euros, but anyway, not all factories can handle or can process milk where the water is extracted, but some they can. So that would significantly reduce transportation costs, and then we can bring it further away. Especially northern Italy is an extremely interesting market to export to. And other ways we are looking is to separate the fat and protein to export it further away. So we look for ways to how we could optimize the process and to export it. But we not only sell to Greece, we also sold to Bulgaria. In the past, we had also Albania. At the moment, we don't export. Slovenia. We did also some to Italy. So we are working on that. But the main from the part that we export, the main volumes go to Greece.
Yeah. Even though Greece is a big producer, isn't it? Also,
No. In the processing, it's true, but they import a lot of milk because we don't have a lot of farms. I think they almost also are
processing. Yeah. Okay.
Like, for example, Olympus, they have a factory also in Romania. They have the largest factory. They have a capacity of 1 million liters of milk per day. But now I do it from my head. I think they process something like around 600,000 liters of milk per day. And you have the Greek yogurt. It's on the Romanian market, and the other products that they process, they produce for the Greek market. So
about these farms, Apol, Straja, anyway, you already provided numbers, you already provided details, but for investors, let's say, what we should retain, what we should remember about these farms you operate now?
That, of course, that there are extremely modern high-tech farms with full use of technology, maybe a nice new investment that we will implement this year. And I think probably we forgot or not. It's not because the number of the investment is so high, but our cows will get a new chip. It's a technology from the United States. And through that chip that can predict that the cow, a few days before the cow would get sick or get other problems, this chip can, they will announce in the system that specific cow gets sick. And also for 80%, it can predict what is the disease or what should the treatment be. And they will be selected when they come out of our milking parlors. They will be selected in a special area where the veterinaries are. And then we don't need to test, or sometimes you could give already a certain vaccine or medicine or whatsoever instead of to test and to wait to have the results. And you could treat the cow way faster, which of course is better for the health of the cow and also for the production capacity. It's a new technology that we implement. It's an investment of a few 100,000 euros, but you could do two things. You could either purchase chips or a bolus, which they eat of, do the trough, and it will be in their body to measure. But of course, then you can only use one time, and with this chip in a thing, you can use it more often. So also when a cow goes out of the farm or out of the production cycle, we could reuse that chip. So that's the newest technology we implement.
No problem. Regarding the Straja project, so it's operational. In March it became operational. You will gradually increase the cow herd, and when it will become fully operational?
Well, we tried this in March. We started with 900 cows. I think in 1 month we will populate the farm gradually to 1,800 cows. So the next stables or barns for 900 cows are almost finalized. They need to install some water equipment, etc., but it's more or less finalized. Then we can populate another 900 cows. If you look on the picture on the left side of my screen, and more in the back of the picture, there you see the newest. So the first 3 stables are now populated with 900 animals, and there behind, that's for another 900 animals, and we are quite far there. So I think from a month we will start to probably add every week 100 cows there. Our goal is at least by the end of this year to have 1,800 dairy cows. But as things process at the moment, we are quite convinced that we can increase that number before the end of the year, and especially before March next year, because this year we built up the reference where the subsidies will be based on from next year. So of course our intention is to have as many animals there as possible. And here we see the 2 milking rotors. They are finalized. The first one, there are already animals in. The second one is also finalized. But with the first one we can milk 1,800 dairy cows. So until that moment we don't use the second milking parlor. And robots, they have arrived at our farms, and we will start in the coming period also to install the dipper robot and the cleaning of the other robot.
Regarding this, the other investment, the Apol compost factory, this one is also fully operational?
Yeah, it is exactly on our property. We can see the product looks already really, really good. We've worked on that the last couple of months. We have 5 days of pre-composting, and then it enters this machine. Now in this period, it takes 27 days, fully automatic. The machine goes twice per day over the manure. It's 78 degrees inside, and after it comes out as granulate, and then the project is ready to be sold in big bags. In time, we will invest also in a 5, 10, and 20 liter packaging for the consumer market. There the margins are significantly higher than in big bags. We are certifying it. Currently, we use the product inside the group, and our goal is from August or September to sell 3,500 tons before the end of the year outside of our group. And next year, of course, we will have significantly more capacity, and we expect to sell approximately 10,000 tons outside the group, because we are constructing the second plant at the Agrar farm. The machine is on the boat from Japan, and I think it arrives in 6 weeks or something here in Constanza. We are currently constructing the building, so by the end of the year, we have a production capacity of approximately 14,000 tons of organic fertilizer.
And is demand on the market for compost? Can sell. How much you can sell in the next years?
Of course, we need, because we didn't sold anything outside yet. Because when you start to sell it, you need to sell also. You need to have the optimum parameters of the product, etc. Of course, there we are working on. This will be in the coming months. So that's a bit hard to predict. But from what we've seen, we are contacted by many companies to sell, and they ask directly for the total 7,000 tons, or they would like to have exclusivity contract. We will only sell everything to them, etc. So we see there's a clear interest, because there's a huge shortage on this market of organic fertilizer, and on the European market there's even a larger shortage, as well as that the EU Commission is writing legislation to reduce significantly the dependence of chemical fertilizers, first for climate, but also that is mainly produced in Russia. So more and more legislation will also become more favorable for these kind of products. So that's the reason in our strategy document we announced that we would like to grow to over 40,000 tons of organic fertilizer in 2030 or end 2030.
Okay, let's move forward and talk about the strategy, because you have a very clear strategy. I saw in the presentation 2025, 2030. You have a lot of bold goals there. I saw a lot of investments to make, and it will be quite challenging. But please, let's talk about the 5 pillars, 5 strategy pillars. They are on just a moment to put them. Yeah, they are on the left hand side. Yeah, and let's start with the farm, the biomethane. It's up to you. What would you like to highlight for the beginning?
Yeah, it's a luxury, I would say, that we can just pick something from it. And I understand that we worked really long on it. It was quite intensive to present such a document, and also every strategy starts with a vision, and we really looked, okay, what could be in the coming years, what could be the main challenges, how could we be as resilient as possible, especially when we become such a large milk producer with 150 to 200 million liters of milk, with a relatively small home market where we are located. So how could we be resilient and not to be dependent on 4, 5, or 6 clients, let's say. We thought, okay, we need to mitigate that risk when you become so large, and as well that we become more and more, although we call ourselves, of course, the largest zootechnic farm in Romania, but we are more an industrial company, I would say, slowly on. So we thought it's also time for some diversification. But let's start with sustainability. So to give maybe an update on the biomethane project, many times I see, and probably we don't express ourselves correctly or clearly enough, because I think I see a lot of miscommunication or misinformation in certain groups, etc. Or sometimes investors, they come to me and they say, Peter, you should not go into this. You don't have experience with biomethane production, etc. But we signed this contract with Black Sea Oil and Gas last year. I think soon enough we will on the next steps. We purchased the land, and now we start the permitting process. But the role of Agrar is mainly only logistics, and we have a logistics company for over 10 years or for over 15 years. So we know how to do logistics, let's say. So we deliver the feedstock. Of course, it needs to have a certain quality, and that we need to deliver to the plant. And afterwards, we need to pick it up again, the digestate, which we can use in our compost plants, or we can bring it to the lagoons in the fields and to use as a fertilizer on our soil. So the risk is relatively low, I would say. Of course, they have a big impact in our results. So we will do everything to get this plant operational. One thing is that legislation needs to be implemented to have injection into the grid, the gas grid in Romania. We see that legislation is under consultation. And we think that in the coming months, the next steps will be settled, or early next year, that this will be implemented. Of course, we need to wait that there is clarity that you have injection into the grid before investment can start. Otherwise, the whole business case doesn't make sense.
Of course.
So we have the biomethane. We reduce there 90% of our emissions, and then we have, of course, the compost, which we just mentioned already. Our goal is to every year steadily to build these kind of plants at the farms. Next to that, we will receive in 2030, if we succeed to implement all those units, in total 6, approximately 100,000 of voluntary carbon certificates, which currently have a value between 20-25 euros, which you can sell on the European market, or also, for example, in Japan. And we expect that value will increase in the coming years to 50 euros. So that will help as well. Then we announced, of course, a new farm. I see it now on the screen.
Yeah.
The Kut 2 farm, where it's a big investment, 10 to 50 million, in total 13 to 50 million euros, from which 7.5 million euros is for animals. That farm should produce 50 million liters per year. And we have now the Kut farm. That's the farm that's located on the highway with the big silos if you pass it. Then you have the DN1 road, and then on the other side of the road directly there will come the biomethane plant, around 15 megawatts, the Kut 2 farm for 5,000 animals, as well as wheatgrass production to replace feeds, to feed the cows for the 20-30% of the consumption, as well as a double unit of composting plant. So that will be our first cluster, our first industrial cluster, also with solar, etc., where we have a lot of components of our business model. And that's what we have the land. We start now permitting. We hope to achieve to have our permitting finished beginning Q1 next year, and then quickly should start in the second part of 2026.
Before we take a look on the graphic evolution of the company, we have here the timeline. Yeah, so from 2025 until 2029, with all these activities that you already planned, and of course you will also execute them. If you're talking about the financing part of these projects, what can you tell us here? A little details. It will be financing from the banks or loans, or even something from the capital markets, or it will be a mix, or what exactly it will be?
For the farms, in the coming years, we will try to have bank financing and partially own resources. Especially, as I mentioned already, 7.5 million euros for this farm goes to the animals, and generally we raise the animals ourselves, so they will be more or less financed by the other farms in the group, let's say, you could say. And the other financing, we think we would go to the bank. Although we see we see now finally this increase in the share price. So in time it could be also more interesting to use the mechanism of the capital market. But for now, for this farm, I'm quite sure we will just go for bank financing and some own sources. And for other plants later on in the strategy, for the greenhouse, etc., it's a different story. But for the compost and for the Kut 2 farm, yes, as I said, bank financing and own resource, especially also because from 2028 we estimate in our budget also the incomes from the biomethane, and of course because we get those incomes from the biomethane, we don't need to invest them in current activities or whatsoever to sustain the general activity. So the incomes from the biomethane, our goal is to reinvest that every year into growth of the company.
Okay, I have some other questions, but if you ask about you said about the price, Let's look to the chart because it's interesting. Everybody waits the price to go with the fundamentals, and seems like it's starting now because this range, almost a year and a quarter, broke up, and then we have 177 today, max historical record. But I think we can go in the next month to 2 lei per share. Why not? Because it's a long range and happens like this every time. If you have a range, once they broke up, they go with at least the amplitude of the range. We will see. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, we have a lot of owners of the main shareholders of the companies. They don't like the price of the company on the stock market. You know what happened here. We had some political issues. We had we have economic problems. What are your opinion about the share price? Are you still nervous, upset, or let's hope? Because anyway, every time you look at the price, it affects you. You can say that.
Yeah, no, of course. No, we are not upset. By the end of the day, the investors on the stock market, they have the truth, let's say. So I can complain, or I can back, or I can say, okay, we offer you this, which other company offer you a 5-year strategy or a 3-year strategy, which companies has a long-term scenarios, which company opens so much their books, which company delivered since listing till now. If you compare to the other companies, that's which company delivers year on year. I can complain about all these kind of things, but by the end of the day, it's a judgment of the investors on the market, and they are always right, let's say. So I have not necessarily an opinion about it. Of course, as also myself, I allocate a lot of time and traveling to be visible, etc. Of course, it motivates more when the price goes up and you have a certain effect. And if it remains stable, sometimes it crosses your mind. Do you think, is it really worth it that I put so much energy on this, or could I better allocate my time somewhere else? But on the other hand, if we compare ourselves to the arrow market, still we stayed really stable. We had the year-to-year end of March at 3%. I think, but now I do it from my head. The index on the arrow market, I think I had a decline of 19%, or I think in something in this range. So if we compare it to that, we did a great job, I would say. And I think, at least internally, we think it mainly came to the unrest. It was not only locally, but also internationally. It is unrest. But now we are used to unrest. When we got listed, the war started. Now we have a lot of other things going on. Before we had COVID, and I think the Agrar has proven, and the management team has proven, to be able in this unresting times to show record after record. And it's good to mention as well the strategy, because as I said, we open our books and we set ourselves. We show the strategy how we have our internal goals, and I understand it's really ambitious, although there are different segments. Like there is projects that we research, project where we invest in, where we have also a lot of experience in, and the only really new investment is the greenhouses at the end of the project. But the others are already more operations that we have done in the past, or now the wheatgrass is also new, but it's part of the operation, let's say, of feeding the animals. So I don't think it is so risky, and I think the Agrar, and especially the management team, has experience by executing large investments, doing large projects, and I think the next stage is a logical stage to see how we can diversify something in a safe way that will not make the company bankrupt or whatsoever. But of course, you cannot be innovative if you never try something new. If you want to be a leader, you also need to try something, and we will fail. For sure, in the future, we will also fail with something that we try, but we try to mitigate the risk as much as possible. Because if we would listen to everyone who says something is difficult or it's impossible, let's say, you will not achieve anything in life, or you will not come further. And we want to create value for all our stakeholders that we did in the last couple of years, and you can only show or deliver high values or high returns for everyone if you put a step forward. And that is also our strategy. It is a step on the horizon, let's say. I mean, we are really confident that we will deliver, but of course, now we focus on 2030, but of course, we all know it could be also 2031. But I mean, the general image should be there. And we are really positive and we are ambitious. When you put yourself out there, that can also go wrong. But I think we will prove, and we did in the last couple of years, that we can deliver.
Yeah, definitely you are ambitious because you already arrived here, and it's a big milestone. I'm thinking regarding the evolution of the business. Let's talk a little bit. Maybe you can provide us some details about this new project of yours. Yeah, this vertical farming. How did you come up with this idea? Where did you see it? Yeah, and what's the technology behind it? Maybe you can give us some details. And it will be live when? Next year or?
Our first in our initial schedule, it was scheduled for the construction part for the second part of next year, together with the Koet 2 farm. But because of that we expected we will have not sufficient harvest this year, we will move it forward. So now we started with permitting, etc. So we expect to start construction somewhere in Q1 next year. And our aim is to be operational in September, but this is the first plan that we deliver. So we also need to be a little bit realistic. It will probably take some couple of months, let's say, to find the right structure. In China, there are quite some farms, large industrial farms, where they use this technology, where they have really good results. The cows give either higher milk yield, or they consume less, and they consume less number of tons. So you have an optimization there. It is fully fresh, and we do our own R&D with a specialized company in this field. And something we found in the first offers that some companies made to us, they provided it that they needed to be light from day one. Now through own testing, we found out that the first 4 days the seed of the plant doesn't need light. So that's a huge optimization and a reduction of electricity costs, because they are the highest cost. Next to that, it's fully fresh and it has a constant protein level of 24%, which is good also for our milk, because partially of our milk, the sales price is partly based on the level of protein. Also, it is better for the digestion of the cow. They are healthier. So we really believe in this as well. We become so large that it also becomes harder to find sufficient land in the area. So now, if we want to grow with our farms in our area, we need to find alternatives for feedstock, or we need to find other locations for the farms, which means if we otherwise the transportation costs also increase significantly. If we would have a few thousand hectares far away, then you need to have a whole machine park, especially for those 1,000 hectares there. It is not optimum, because they will not work all year. As well as you need to transport that food from the fields to your farms by the end of the day. Next to that, we import every year approximately 4 million euros of rapeseed. That will only further increase when we expand our herd. So the business case looks really good, and we think we can replace rapeseed, but also lucerne, triticale, etc. And through this, we expect that we can still grow in the number of animals and liters of milk, and that we not necessarily need to grow so much anymore on conventional crops. And we give predictability. For us, it becomes way more important to have a constant flow of good quality food than that fluctuates every year, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
About this strategy you mentioned, we discussed these documents we have worked hard on, as you said, also contribute to the excellent image of yours and the fact that you are a benchmarker on the market, as I said at the beginning. But what are the risks, the weaknesses, the vulnerabilities of this strategy?
I think what we try to do with the strategy is, of course, to reduce the risk, or to try to mitigate the risk. There is the strategy built on, as I said, to become more resilient. And the larger, on one hand, the larger you grow, somehow the more power you have. But if you become really, really significant, let's say, and there are not a significant number of clients where you can sell out, you are also to a certain degree vulnerable. And the prices are now really good on the market, and we think already in advance in the coming years, okay, what would happen if the milk price decreases, or if there are not sufficient large producers or processors on the Romanian market. A solution could be that we sell to small processors, because there are many small processors, but we have a bad experience or negative experience that's from the past. So that is not really an option. So we said, what shall we do? Because we don't want to compete with the milk processors. We don't want to compete with our clients. So you need to be careful what to design. And we said, okay, what could we do to enlarge our clients? We look to how can we export or how can we our commodity further away, as well as how could we enlarge our group of clients and in different segments. And for an example, as I mentioned already, to extract the water, but another is to separate the fat and protein, and that you could also sell to, for example, bakery factories or other type of food producers. They need these products, or to other milk processors, because they also purchase from the market fat and protein. So we look to valorize milk in a different way. Milk powder, I have the first 2 offers already received today on my desk for milk powder factory. That could be also really interesting, that you could either operate all year, or when the milk price significantly decreases, let's say, you could able to stock part, or to, and of course you can sell it all over the world. So we look for different ways to be more agile, you could say, that we have more different type of clients, and to remain, if the milk price significantly decreases, that we can still have a healthy margin, let's say. That is on the other hand. That's let's say that was more or less the idea, the company future proof.
This strategy has you work with more with 3-4 scenarios every time. How I remember, but anyway, my memory is not is far away to be good because I'm not young anymore. As I remember, when you listed 3 years ago, you presented also a strategy, different scenarios, 2 or 3. If you remember, which one was the correct one to see how in the future we can predict?
Now, the 4 scenarios, and the scenarios are based on 2024 to 2027. So I cannot tell you today what is the correct one. This we will know in 2027.
Yes, but the way
where we are now from the previous scenarios today with the milk price, of course, we are now somewhere really close to scenario 4. Let's say, I would say to the best scenario. But I mean, if next year the price drops with 40%, yeah, okay, we are in a different way. That is when you have only a commodity. But through the investment in Compost and Biomethane, which is not related to the milk price, and anyway the cow will produce manure, we will be way more resilient in the future, as well as with the greenhouses. Yesterday I had a meeting with someone for greenhouses. In 2 weeks, I will visit a large fair about greenhouses, vertical farming, vegetable, and we see a huge potential in Romania. There, as only 10% is covered by greenhouses, and that is one of the main larger project where I will dedicate a lot of my time to in the coming period with my management team. We will receive in the next month. We will receive professors from the Wageningen University, etc. So we try to think big in this process. At the minimum 15 hectares, but if you would really think big, you should think more, let's say, around 50 hectares or between 30 and 50 hectares. Let's say that you become quite a significant player. Like in Romania in total, only 30 hectares are covered, let's say, if you would compare like that. And many crops are imported, so that's a big project. But through these kind of things, through this diversification, where we have also some synergies with Compost, etc., we become more resilient, and it becomes easier to really predict. Because by the end of the day, although we have a good price and it is based on Northwestern Europe, as we discussed a bit earlier today, we have a lot of volatility. So you can mitigate that to grow fast, and of course to find some markets who are not connected to the dairy market.
We came to an end finally, but our viewers are very interested in finding out if there are good opportunities for acquiring other farms right now. Maybe you are scanning the market, and maybe did you find some smaller competitors that actually can be acquired at a good price, or not for the moment?
We all the time look into this, and we get lots of offers. There are also some on our radar The issue is the farms that have the capacity, let's say, to become interesting for us are then generally farms from the communist time. Now, we have also one of our farms in our group, but of course it's harder to fully optimize them and to implement all types of technologies. But the difficulty is as I mentioned, now to build a farm for 5,000 animals, we estimate between 13 to 15 million euros, from which half of is to populate the farm, the half of the investment. Now, we get quite often offers, for example, for 2,000 cows or 1,500 cows, also with some hectares, but old stables, etc. But with the ability to quite easy, or in a relative short time, I would say, to come to 5,000 animals. But then the prices are always 20, 30, or 40 million. Now, it's always, of course, we can then grow. We could grow faster, and the farm is operational, etc. It's usually far away from where we are located, so it's harder to operate from that perspective. So if the price is good, I think we would do it. On the other hand, we have also the price cap, which is implemented. So as I said, we now look could we valorize in a different way the milk, because if this price cap remains, of course, in time we will also have an effect on our milk price, because when the gap between this Northwestern European price and the local price becomes so enormously large, and production would increase, of course, it could have an effect on us. So that's what we think in advance. Then it's maybe more interesting to look outside of Romania to see if we could there grow. Or no, not grow, but to grow to M&A, let's say. And I think Hungary is an interesting market, although it's way more cost competitive than the Romanian market. It's an exporting market. Poland is developing really well, although it's harder there to operate these kind of large-scale farms in Romania. I think Ukraine is. We would definitely be interested in Ukraine in the future to grow there if they would enter the EU. That is a condition. So we are open to it, but this price cap leads to concerns. Let's say I assume this will be cancelled one day, but if it takes for another 5 years, I would be more comfortable to look into some diversification. Locally, if we talk about it.
Okay, yes. Has right, George Popescu. Of course, ABB had pressure on the price. It's an explanation for this, maybe for this range. But in the end, we close. We start. You are a growth story. You are a benchmark, at least on the agro market. The question is how attractive for you, what's your opinion, how attractive is the company for the retail, and maybe in the future when you will finish with this strategy, you'll be big enough for the institutional investors?
Yeah, our goal is in the coming years to grow significantly, and that's also the reason we do the coming projects with bank financing, our own sources, till 2028. Our goal is to, for now, as we see it, to do the upgrade to the main market in 2028. We are almost finalizing with restating our results from 2023 and 2024 in IFRS. Mazars is doing that. They need to be finalized in September. And from next year, 2025, of course, as well. And from next year, we will quarterly report in IFRS. So then we are fully ready, let's say, to do the upgrade. But we will further focus on growing up to 2028, where the Straja farm is fully operational. Also in March 2028, the Kut 2 farm will come operational. We have some more units, and of course the commission of the biomethane plant should be there, so that it will significantly increase our results. And our goal is for the greenhouses to do a capital increase, as we see it now on the main, with institutional investors, pension funds, to partially do a capital increase. Partially, we will work in the coming years to find subsidies to combine this combination, and because then we can really think large, let's say, because institutions and the pension funds, as you know, probably even way better than I do, they look, at least from the meetings that I had, they look for investments at least from 20 to 30 million euros as a start. Maybe some are open to some lower amounts, but I think from my perspective, at least in my face when I meet them, because I meet them every year, they're really enthusiastic and they are really open. So that's the feeling we get. And I think they would be open to participate because they are heavily searching for companies to invest in, also to have this larger allocated budget. But that would make mostly sense around 2028, because from 2029 we would like to have the first greenhouse operational. So that would make most sense around this period to do this increase. But I think we are attractive, at least from our perspective. We deliver, and we deliver more than probably what we promised. So in time, and of course the ABB, I understand that it has a consequence. On the other hand, we got since we got listed, we didn't sell any shares. Let's say that was one period, one time we did this. In the beginning, I remember when we just got listed, I started to purchase for a few €100,000 shares on the market because we thought we are really undervaluated, and then the price remained low, so I stopped by buying because we said, okay, let's first see how this evolves, because we get maybe even further into trouble. And then we had for some years, of course, significant increases. We growth with our share over 100%. Another year we had, I think, approximately 74%. So we were also blessed the last couple of years. But we try to be stable. We try to we don't buy and trade every day with our shares or what's on the market. So we try to leave the valuation really on the market and not to influence this. Of course, in time, as we have announced in the past, we would like to reduce our participation to 51%. But now that we are upwards, I think we will. Although I'm not the main shareholder, so I mean, by the end of the day, it's my father, so it's hard to for him. But I will at least probably try to convince him not to do an ABB this year, let's say, to let the price grow, if that is the main reason. But,
Okay. Good luck, Peter, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the pleasant conversation. See you soon.
Încheiem aici ediția de astăzi. Vă dau întâlnire data viitoare. Până atunci, seară plăcută și profitabilă. La revedere!